Editing and proofreading. Editing and proofreading are very different from revising and drafting. Most people, when they think about revising, they think more so about sentence structure, about their grammar, etc. When you are drafting and revising, it is more so about your ideas and making sure that everything is clear, it has cohesion, it has unity. So that basically means that you are writing on the same subject throughout your essay, that you are proving your thesis correct by using evidence and information. Now, when you get to editing and proofreading, it's more so for the grammar. Editing is more for, as I said, grammar, punctuation, word choice, and sentence style. If you notice you're a person who really likes a lot of simple sentences, then that's one thing you focus on when you are in your editing phase. You say, well, I'm not going to have so many simple sentences. I'm going to combine some of them together and make compound sentences. You make sure of that. When you are thinking about things of that nature, when you consider your whole goal is to make sure you don't have any spelling errors unless you are writing colloquialisms. So that is perfectly fine for your actual narrative. But of course, we'll have to take care of that when we start to get more formal and we have different types of papers. And you need to make sure you are making sure that your format, that your format and your message overall is being presented across when you are editing. That is the most important thing for that. A lot of times when we are considering editing, we get a little upset about our information, but we have to make sure that we think about our subject-verb agreement, we need to think about our pronouns. If we are writing an essay, especially our narrative, if you are talking to different people, you tend to say he, she, etc. If you're a guy and you're talking to another guy and you just say he said and go on with him and they, then it becomes confusing. So we have to make sure that we clarify our pronouns. You need to at least use their name at one point throughout the paper once you use a pronoun. So that way we can refer back to the pronoun. A lot of times we don't think about that, and that can be problematic simply because when you're not with your paper is representing you. And a lot of times you know who you're speaking about. However, the person who's reading the paper has no clue. And so we need to make sure that we have our pronouns referenced. And if you see something that says pronoun antecedent issue, that's what that is, where we're not clear who the person is that you are referring to. Another thing we need to make sure is that our verb tenses stay consistent. With our narrative, of course, plenty of things that we tend to talk about tend to be in past tense. So if you want to write your story in past tense, that's fine. If it is something that is past tense, and you want to write it in present tense, if it is happening right at that moment, that is also fine. But we need to make sure that we don't go back and forth. Okay? A lot of times we do that, not thinking about it. We will go from the past to the present, and so they'll give us two different time periods, which can be confusing to your reader. And I tend to call that whiplash, because the person's trying to figure out where are we in time and space. We need to make sure we are aware of what we are as we are completing these things. So make sure you think about how you're going to write your paper in terms of verbiage. Another thing is, when you are completing your sentences, we're going to make sure we don't have fragments and run-ons. I'll tell you the different types of fragments and run-ons if you have any in your papers and how to fix them. I will make sure that you are aware of different ways to fix them, as well as probably will have like little exercises on them if a lot of people are doing them, simply because we haven't worked on sentence structure, verbiage, subject-verb agreement on average. The last time someone probably sat down and did that with you, usually it's between 6th and 8th grade. And by the time we get here, sometimes we forget some of those things. And so I don't want you to feel that you'll be penalized for that. Like I said, we'll make sure that we work on those things together so that you are not stressed. Another thing that I want you to think about when you are creating your edits is your punctuation. I want you to challenge yourself to try different punctuation. I want you to make sure you can try to colons, semicolons, dashes, and we're going to make sure we use that comma right. That comma can cause a lot of problems and stress us out. I'll make sure we know how that works. We're going to definitely try different things. And if you do compound complex sentences, I actually give bonus points for those, simply because I want you to try different things. And if you try those in your drafts, of course I'll tell you how to fix them. So make sure you try to experiment in your drafts and your revisions, so when I see them, I can give you comments and feedback on what you're doing well and then how to fix those certain issues that you have within your papers. And for your narrative, we'll talk about how to use quotations. Simply because quotations, when you are talking, are a lot different from when you are using a source. That makes a big difference. And I don't want you to be confused on how that works and where the punctuation inside quotations go. Depending on how you set up the quotation, it works different ways. And so we will definitely talk about that next week when you are starting to develop your narratives. And one last thing, when we are editing and proofreading, I want you to think about are those commonly confused words. Okay. Things like that. There and there. 2, 2, and 2. And we'll make sure if we are using those wrong, we'll talk about those. I really don't have many problems with common confused words this much now, simply because our computer helps us out a lot. But I want to make sure if you are having those issues and you're not sure why, we definitely talk about those. So don't be shy. If you have questions, comments, concerns about certain things, definitely let me know. I am very happy to help you. Or if you see a comment on your paper and you're not sure why, please ask me. Make sure that you stand up for yourself and advocate in the sense that you want to know what's going on. That's part of the education process. It's different now. You have to make sure that you understand so that you can get the grade that you deserve. And I am more than happy to help you, and I want you to talk to me and communicate with me.